This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
What's up, champs? Welcome to a special edition of Short Shifts, where we're covering all the news and notes from the trade deadline and a couple of days before, because I guess the GMs just couldn't wait till Friday to get all the trades done. And with that in mind, we got a special guest. It's not Jeremy with me today. He's out having fun, I believe, out for a wedding. So we have Elizabeth. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here with you. I have been watching all the trades with extra careful eyes, and I'm still a little bit lost on some of them, but I think it's going to be a fun show anyway.
Oh, yeah. It was such a wild news because there's so many trades happened, or at least were like broken by the insiders. That it was like 5 hours until they actually got announced, and you're just trying to remember, wait, was this one new or this one's old? And you're just keeping track. And then the whole Rantanen news dropped like, I literally was staying up, I think, to like 2 a.m. because I'm like, are they going to give me the information? And then we didn't even get it until like 4 hours after it closed today. So just a lot of news flying around.
Absolutely. There's so much to get to tonight. And I just want to preface this for everybody. We are only hitting the highlights. So if we miss your favorite player, I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah, maybe, the mega show might go a little bit deeper. But yeah, we're just hitting the high level here. And funny enough, the first news we have is not trade deadline talk, but it's more of a follow-up from Tuesday episode, is that bad news is that Jack Hughes is officially done for the season. He had shoulder surgery, so he's out. Supposedly he's going to be fine for the next season, but out for this season. As well is that we have Dougie Hamilton is out for a extended period. Word is it's week to week. So that's going to be a decent amount of time. And on top of that, Siegenthaler is going to be out for the rest of the regular season, which is what we're interested in a fantasy perspective. So basically the lines and whatnot are in line with what was talked about on the Tuesday show, but this is just going to be a major just drag on everyone. They're currently losing by a large margin to Winnipeg. And this is just the idea that it's just going to be negative for everyone and no reinforcements coming, because when we're talking about trades, I'm sorry, the ones that came from the Devils were not enough of a mark to make the show. So you can take the hint of what you think the fantasy impact is for those.
Absolutely. I think that the Devils had a choice to make today, and they definitely made it. They're going to roll with what they've got, and we'll see how things go for them. I wish them the best. They started the season so strong. Another interesting announcement, and you've already hinted at it, is the Rantanen. I mean, we had that surprise trade earlier this season that sent Mikko Rantanen over to the Carolina Hurricanes. And then another big move this week is the Canes trade him over to the Dallas Stars. Now, this time at least, this trade came with a new contract for Rantanen as well, which is exciting for him. But I mean, it's definitely going to be a shakeup over in Dallas. Our potentials, I'm thinking, is a Robertson, Hintz, Rantanen. But then we've got to talk about where Mikael Granlund fits in. And I'm a little bit worried about Ben with all of this news. Personally, I've got him in a very deep league. I know that's probably not relevant to most leagues, but I do have him in a deep league, and I'm hoping it doesn't impact him too much.
It's really interesting because, there was talk on our Discord about just how this could be done, but they have legitimately 9 forwards that could just be anywhere on the line. And then on top of it, they have so many centers that could play as wing and the other way around. So the good news is they're playing tomorrow. And by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably have much better idea of how the lines are going to be than we are. So we're not going to play that game of just guessing where people are. And then we'll just have to keep an eye on game day tweets and see what they actually do and see if they keep it around.
Exactly. I think it's one of those watch and sees, but being that I am focused on that division, I can tell you I'm a little bit worried about what's going on over there. They're looking scary.
It's as a Skinner manager, I'm not happy that they're and Rantanen's ready to play tomorrow. I'm he could take a day rest or whatnot, but yeah, it's going to be interesting from there. And then on top of that is that, nothing against Stankoven. He's a young player, shown so much potential, and I could see him doing well down the road. But at the very least, we could all agree that he's not at Rantanen level right now. And then with that in mind, I am scared about how to look at the Carolina power play, because it was already sputtering right now with him with Rantanen. Now, if you take him out, that's just going to be a scary sight. So this is just going to be one of those situations where maybe in a deep league, Jackson Blake or someone might get a little bit more time. You're going to be happy. But in most leagues, this is just going to be a negative to all the big name players. Your Jarvis, your Ahos, your Svechnikovs, those kind of players are just going to be a straight up negative. And then we'll just see, hopefully it's not too much going forward.
Absolutely.
And then on top of that, we have another big trade. I say big trade, nothing's ever going to compare to Rantanen, but for me, this is a really interesting one, is that Brock Nelson actually got traded from the Islanders. It was the whole, are they going to keep him for the power or keep him for the potential playoff run? No. Lou Amarillo actually, came to his senses and traded Brock Nelson to the Avalanche. And the interesting thing is that we're talking about, what our lines are going to be. We actually have lines because he made it for practice today, and he's going right where we expect. He's with Druin and Dukushkin on the second line. And interestingly enough is that he's on the second power play with Lehkonen, because Nuke is actually on the top power play now. So it's Nelson, Lehkonen, Colton, Girard, and Taves. So obviously, it's not going to be the top power play, but there's still interesting enough players on that second line and on the second power play that even if he's not the big dog anymore, I feel like they're still going to lead on the second line enough that he's going to hold a majority of his value, in my opinion.
I agree. I think he's a really good, solid player who's going to produce wherever he's put. And I feel like he's got a bit of that kind of just general good hockey sense that he'll be able to come in, he'll fit in nice and easy. He's going to start playing with these guys, and I think he'll get acclimated to this team really nicely. I think there was a lot of concern about him with the Islanders for a long time there, that he just wasn't very loud and flashy, right? He wasn't exciting as some of the players. But I think that this works for Colorado, where maybe New York is looking for maybe someone a little flashy in a few years. They're playing that kind of smart long-term play with this, going for some picks and some younger guys. So it'll be interesting to see, but I do think he'll make a good impression in Colorado. I think the fans will be happy to have him there.
And then with that, we have on top of this is that we're not going to go through every single one, but we got Boston basically waved the white flag on the season, and then maybe are saying, maybe not full rebuild, but they're not going to be in play. And on top of all of these, we got one big name that's going to the Panthers. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Yes, our Boston Bruins, they were selling this week. Brad Marchand to Florida. Huge news today. Big trade late in the day. I personally was quite shocked. I mean, if you look at the history there, Florida's knocked Boston out of the playoffs the last 2 years. But this is a huge boost to that top six. And if you think about this for the NHL playoffs, maybe not your fantasy playoffs, but the NHL playoffs, we've got Tkachuk, who's expected to be back. This is going to be a very good team from their top six. It looks really good there. They also gave Charlie Coyle over to Colorado. Again, going back to that Colorado, making some changes, definitely looking to make a run of their own. So they're getting that center depth, adding both Nelson, as you just mentioned, and Coyle. I kind of like that there for them. Again, wish they weren't in a division I cared about, but that's okay. Then we've got Brandon Carlisle going over to Toronto. I really think this actually helps bolster the Toronto defense. I can see some people being a little bit leery. He's not a huge goal scorer type of guy, but when it comes to the hits, the blocks, kind of playing that like true defenseman style, I think they're going to like having him there. It'll be really interesting to see where he ends up in the pairing. I'm guessing he'll be in the top two pairs there. Probably try him out on the top pair a little bit just to see how he works there to give Morgan Rielly a little bit more of that offensive option. Just my opinions, though. Next, we have Trent Frederic and Max Jones to Edmonton. And I have to say, Max Jones already made his debut last night. He was debuting on the fourth line, but he was very quickly winning over the fans. I happened to be in the building last night. He set up a nice goal by Corey Perry there. And then he was making some moves that had the crowd cheering for him and people yelling that they wanted his jersey already. So I'm excited for him. People were asking where Trent Frederic was. I think it'll be great when they're both there. It'll be fun and exciting. And we also have Justin Brazeau over to Minnesota. So like we're saying, these Bruins came to play today. They were trading. They're making plans for the future. And I think this was probably the right play for them. They've had a bit of an up and down year. So it'll be interesting to see where that takes them. I know in our discussions before, we were saying that their lines might be a little shaky now. They've definitely sold off a lot of big pieces. But it will be interesting to see what Boston does with this in the next few years as they build.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Is that Pasternak's still going to be Pastrnak, so I'm feeling fine about him. And then, I don't know, this is more of just a feeling, is that assuming that Geekie stays with him, I think that Morgan Geekie will be still fine. And then we'll see, is that it's going to be the dance of Zacha or say Lindholm takes that line. Basically, I'm still fine with anyone on that top line because of just the Pastrnak exposure. But after that, I have absolutely no interest. If someone could go on a 10-game goal streak, I am not I'm just going to wait for the next game and be like, it's going to fall off. Like, I'm not going to be biting on anyone. And then this one is maybe just a little bit of level of pessimism for me. Is I'd be keeping an eye on Mason Lohrei. Is that, he had just a great week last week with I think he had at least 5 assists over that time and maybe a goal in there. But the last 3 games, he hasn't gotten any points, maybe a few hits and a few shots there. But with all this talent left out, is that I would be kind of just keeping an eye on the stats and just maybe not making as an auto assume that you found your remaining season pickup, and just make sure that whatever he's producing for you actually fits what you're going to be getting out of him. Because with, Pastrnak can only make so many points on his own. I'm not sure how much he can drag everyone else.
Absolutely. I think that it's a great take. Definitely that middle six is a little worrisome. I would be watching out if you're holding anybody in that middle six. I would probably start thinking of them as more of a streamer and start watching that schedule. And if you're even benching them a little bit, it's probably time to let them go.
Oh, agreed. And with that, we'll be on for a short break.
It might not feel like it, but spring is right around the corner. Know how you can tell? Golfers are hitting the links, and we have some tournaments to talk about. And if you want to do more than just talk, put your money where your mouth is. Get in on all the tee to green action with DraftKings Sportsbook. From Thursday's opening round through the closing round Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with tournament props, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. If you've never bet on golf before, it's easier than you think. Just pick something simple like a golfer to win the tourney and make your pick. It's that easy. I'm looking at the odds now for the tournament. I do not know any of these people, but it looks like Scotty Scheffler is the favorite. So do you think Scotty Scheffler is going to win? Or let's see, who has the highest odds? You know who has really long odds? Patrick Rogers. He must be a real nobody, but maybe a nobody's won golf tournament. You know, I don't even know. But if you think Patrick Rogers is going to win this golf tournament, that maybe take a look at DraftKings Sportsbook. And by the way, here's something special for first timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Welcome back. We got more trades to talk about. And this one is a pretty interesting one, is that we've heard about Dylan Cozens being talked about. Honestly, it felt like from day one as a potential trade target, but we actually have a trade, and it's an interesting one. It's effectively straight up for Josh Norris. And the funny thing is that when I was doing the research for this, is that both of them are actually in a pretty similar situation, is that both of them are on the second line with one good winger. We had, Norris had Batherson, Cozens had Tuck as his winger. And then both of them were playing on power play 2, which was probably not the best power play 2, but still had a decent amount of pieces. So I'm not sure about how this is going to equate. It's going to be, maybe from the way I look at it, is that if you were fine with either of them, where they were before, I think you might be fine with them. Now, I'll add a little bit of caveat, is that I feel like the Senators power play 1 is a little bit more situated with who they have, and the Buffalo coaching staff loves playing around with their lines. So maybe Josh Norris has a better outlet to becoming on that top power play. But overall, I'm not sure how much this changes the calculus on the two players. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I was really interested when this one came out because Buffalo had previously said that they were only going to trade Cozens if it was a real hockey trade. And I cannot be the only person out there who was wondering what they meant by a real hockey trade. I think this is what they meant. This is very much we're exchanging pieces that make sense. We're exchanging for somebody who is going to seamlessly fit into the spot that we're swapping out. This, to me, is very interesting. We'll see how the different play styles work in these new locations. But I'm 100% with you. If you had them before, I would absolutely keep them and hold them. And also, just to continue on with our Senators, we also are going to be sending Fabian Zetterlund over there from the San Jose Sharks. He's been playing with Celebrini and Smith, and he's also been on power play too. So this does create not only an interesting opening over in there, but we've also got a really interesting case for do Cozens and Zetterlund become a line, kind of work together, work the new guys together over in Ottawa. I personally think that would be a lovely second line. Just looking at it, you'd probably pull in Batherson, something like that. But this is just my guess and my projections. I've never been a hockey coach, so bear with me. I could be very wrong, but I like the idea of kind of bringing them in and kind of growing them together.
Oh yeah, I'm so on board with obviously I'm in the same boat as that. I tweet the lines, I don't guess the lines, so I'm not sure how it's going to end up going down the road, but I feel like Zetterlund brings out a little bit more juice to the team than David Perron. I feel like he could be the one that floats a little bit around maybe on the third line. So the way I look at this is if Zetterlund makes it to the second line, I would be interested. And then if, depending on how deep your league is that nothing against Pinto on the third line, I feel like this would be a significant downgrade just because they don't really have like a winger interesting enough on that third line. So if it was, say, Zetterlund, Cozens, Batherson, no matter how well Celebrini and Will Smith is playing, that's still a good enough line that I'd be interested enough to keep Zetterlund around. But if you start seeing they want him on the third line, that's going to be the time where I'm thinking about maybe it might be time to give a cut. And then on top of that as well is we have to keep an eye out is that who takes that spot, as you were mentioning, in San Jose, is that right now they have Eklund and Toffoli on their own line. So with Wenberg. So it'll be interesting to see if one of them goes in pairs with Celebrini and Will Smith, or if they bring in a new person. Depends on how deep your league is, but I would be paying attention to lines to see who gets that spot. And then we'll see how the things go with that. And then you might be able to find a diamond in the rough, depending on how deep your league is.
Excellent advice. I like that. Watch those lines, watch and see. If you're in a deep league, these are very interesting moves that are where people who maybe weren't taken are obviously going to be available. And I would be looking at that. I'm in a very deep league. I'll be honest. We start every night with like 12 forwards and 6 defensemen. It's very deep. And this is one of those cases where you're watching the trades for those pieces of the puzzle that you might be able to snag out from under everybody else.
Talking about finding diamonds in the rough feels like no matter what's going on with each trade deadline, Tampa Bay always finds their guys. They pay a big price, but they get who they want, and they always seem to do well. And this year we got Yanni Gourde coming back to the team, and alongside him from Seattle, we got Bjorkstrand, which was honestly, I'm not even sure I ever heard any rumors about him being potentially traded. So this was a pretty surprising one. Now, the nice thing is that everyone was hyping up Bjorkstrand, being like, oh, he's going to be perfect. He's going to be, top 6, power play 1 because of the right shot and all that stuff. I never know. You could name any player to me. I could not guess their handiness better than just the 50-50 shot you give me, but I'll go with our smart Discord crowd who said how that works. But the funny thing is that maybe it might be just them, being eased in, is that Bjorkstrand was actually on the third line with Gourde. So that left Cirelli, Hagel, and Paul together. And then your average, your day in, day out, Gensel, Point, and Kucherov is your top line. And then both of them, or at least, both of them were on power play too. So I'm not sure. It depends on where you stand from a matchup perspective in the playoffs. If you have Bjorkstrand, I'm not sure if I'm going to be rushing to drop him because of this deployment. I'd be, maybe if it's 2 or 3 games, maybe let the week fill out and then see Tuesday. And then if he's still on that third line, second power play, maybe I temper my expectations, but I would be holding on to him because if he somehow finds, say, on the top power play, or at the very least, like to play with Hagel on the second line, even if he's on the second power play, if he's on the second line, that's enough of a hold for me.
Yeah, this is a tough one because we all know, we all joke about it. Seattle's lines are very even. They tend to play them evenly. So you might be losing a lot of ice time here unexpectedly. And we all know what that means. Less ice time, less shots, less hits, less everything, right? So it's really something to keep an eye on, and just be aware that when you're losing players in this case to a team that does kind of run those top 6 numbers, that could really impact you. Whereas before, a third line person could be a little bit better off. The other thing here is that it's very interesting to me. Like, we're bringing Gord back. He's kind of going back to Tampa Bay. That's exciting for him. I mean, he's won some cups there, so maybe it just brings some juice back to them and they get really excited there. The interesting fact that I did find today, and I always like to throw a little fun fact somewhere in the show, is that Tampa Bay is without a first round pick now for quite a few years. It looks like the 2028 draft. So just a fun fact for anybody paying attention. It does sound like they're going to be really working with the guys that they have, which I like to see. All right, on to what I could not ignore because everybody knows I am the Edmonton fanatic around here. Jake Walman is coming to Edmonton. He is also leaving the San Jose Sharks. They were on a little bit of a selling spree as well. I'm excited to get a defenseman in Edmonton. I know that everybody was hoping or talking about a potential goalie, but I think they made it very clear we weren't going to be seeing a Skinner deal or anything like that. And so I think Jake Walman coming in is really good. Unfortunately, right now with Ekholm and Klingberg both out dealing with minor injuries, he is going to be leaned on hard and fast. I think he could be playing as early as Saturday, we've heard. But I think that's okay. I think bringing him in and letting him get in with the players, getting used to the new people. We've also seen a couple other guys come up recently to fill in those gaps. I think it'll be really exciting. The Oilers are just coming off that little short slump that they've had for the last little while. So this is a good time, I think, to join the team and kind of play into that offensive defenseman role that Edmonton needs. He's had 32 points in the last 50 games here this year. So I think it'll be a perfect match. I'm excited to see where he slots in. I am guessing early on we'll see him in that kind of top pairing, second pairing, good 20-minute player, but we'll see where it goes when everybody's healthy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when everyone gets healthy, to have him and Bouchard and Ekholm as 3 defensemen that you can just rely on and not have to think about, like sheltering or playing games around and be like, oh crap, we have to avoid the first line with these guys. And hopefully that just helps develop a situation where they can start playing the third line or the third pairing into smarter spots. And then, I'm a Skinner manager, so maybe I'm wearing rose colored glasses, but I feel like he's going to be more of a bellwether of the whole team. In the playoffs last year, he went on a streak and did a lot of things, but I feel like he's going to be more of a how well the team's doing is how well he does. So hopefully if this just brings up the overall defensive impact, just, a few notches, maybe we just kind of see a general, just slight improvement on his end. And then we could just kind of see overall just a better output from the team.
Exactly. I think this is still good news all around. They were making a couple of trades that maybe the fans weren't expecting, but I think they were probably the right ones for the team. When you start getting into those fantasy numbers and stuff where we start using our critical minds instead of our hearts and cheering for people, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. Is that, as a Red Wings fan, I honestly would have wished that the Oilers traded for Mrazek instead of for the Red Wings, but I'll leave that for a rant somewhere else, but there wasn't really anyone out there, so they did the smart thing, and it just improved the team in front of Skinner, and then hopefully, he doesn't sink them and just kind of, levels off with the rest of the team. And with that, that's the end of our show. Thank you for joining us, and if you're interested in hearing more and being involved with our fantastic group, as I mentioned, we had a just roaring time of just talking about trades throughout the whole week, especially talking on today. It was like, I didn't need TSN Trade Center or anything like that. I just had the general NHL chat open, and I was just chatting with people that, like-minded people, smart people, as I said, of just knowing about how the power plays are working and all that thing. You could be a part of that community by joining our Patreon group at keepingkarlsson.com/patron. And on top of that, you get to listen to our patron casts that happen once a month and get all the other benefits. And on top of that, don't forget about GameDayTweets.com. As I mentioned before, we don't know a lot of these lines coming up. We're just going to be finding out at the exact same time as you are. But the nice thing is if you use GameDayTweets.com, you just have the information thrown at you from the teams, from the actual beat reporters. These are not guesses. These are actual line tweets. So when they practice tomorrow morning, you're going to see where Rantanen slots and see what happens with Pastrnak if they start playing with weird lines when he starts playing. So go to GameDayTweets.com to make sure that you get the information so you don't have to touch Twitter. And then lastly, make sure to visit the site and the other great sites that we use to research our episodes at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, Natural Stat Trick. Our intro and outro music was created by Pat Roach. And until next time, play smart and keep your shifts short.
This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.